Hi, it's Greg Ellers from Einstein's Disease. We're back with Matt Renner, the CEO of PassPass, where their endeavor to keep every business in business. Matt, as we close out this show today, I really want to thank you for being able to come in. Yeah. Matt's a Texas resident, not too far from here in downtown Houston. It's been great to get together and get to see each other.
Yeah.
We've talked over the phone and Zoom
right.
and stuff. It's nice to get to meet you in person and still be together.
Yeah, absolutely.
But at any rate, as we close out the show today, I'd like to have you kind of share with the audience where your continuum is now. You were gracious enough to share with us how you started your career, how that ended because of success, selling the business and being able to start a new one. Where do you see yourself in this business and things like that over the next, 3 to 5 to 10 years as you plan to build that wealth once again, not only for yourself, but as the leader for the people in the company?
Yeah. Well, I have a belief that in order to help people, you first have to help yourself. And so I have a foundation now, and we do support various causes and financially, and that's definitely a goal of mine, is to continue to do that. But I think if I take a step back 10 years ago, I was a struggling entrepreneur inside of a bootstrap growing business, just working as hard as I could to take care of myself and my family first, right? Mm-hmm. And I did that by building a business, being surrounded by great people, and we had a good outcome, and I did pretty well financially. But if I could give advice to anyone, it would be set out a roadmap to where you want to be in 5 to 10 years. There's an old saying that you can really overestimate the amount you can get done in 1 year. You can really underestimate what you can get done in 10 years, right? So with PassPass, I'm trying to, now that I've had some success, I'm trying to take it to that next level, right? So I've set some personal goals, I've set some business goals, we've set company revenue goals, and I've tied that really strongly to my why, my reason for being, and the reason for the company to be, and that mission is what we always anchor back to. If we can help 1 million businesses and 500 million consumers find a win-win, then we're going to have a really successful company that's going to help a lot of people, and a lot of people will benefit. I saw something. Jeff Bezos said this. He said, he was talking to someone, and he said, because they were asking him about always being near the top of the richest men of the world, right? And people that are in business, you're probably in business because you want to make money, right? You want to leave a better life for yourself, for your family, for your legacy, and you can't do that if you're broke, right? So
that's right.
My advice to everyone is get rich, right? We're doing this because we want to help people, but we also want to make some money. But what Jeff Bezos said is, he said, what I think is more interesting than being number one on the richest man in the world list is I want to be number one on the person that created the most wealth for other people, right? Because Amazon's a $3 trillion company. He owns maybe $500 billion of that, but that means he created $2.5 trillion of wealth for other people. Right. And so when you look at PassPass and our mission, keep every business in business. Well, if you're a creator, if you're a Uber driver, if you're everybody is in business. Whether you know it or not, you're in business for yourself. You just might be working for someone else. But the more that we can help other people be successful with our platform, we feel that ultimately we're going to have stronger communities. Businesses are the heart of our communities, businesses, churches, schools, right? The more that we can have strong small business owners, a strong, robust middle class, that's going to be better for everyone. And so my mission over the next 10 years is, yes, to build a large company, but I'm only going to be able to do that if we're helping other people achieve their goals and build something, right? And so that's the march I'm on. I know my team agrees with that. We're all entrepreneurs at heart, and we all have our own goals and missions, but that's where we're going, and people like you coming along and helping us, and, and it's a big task, but it's worth it.
I think that the one thing you mentioned there that's really important is everybody's in business, whether they're working for somebody else or they're working for themselves. And I hope what really has come out of this for a lot of people today, Matt, is that to help people stay in business, it's the ability for them to look outside of their comfort zone. Sometimes things that are different aren't too good to be true. Mm-hmm. The fact that you have a platform where businesses as a co-op, because co-ops are really not as prevalent as what they were 50, 60 years ago because of the change in everybody's urban and things like that aren't as necessary. You've created something that is a national opportunity for everybody to be able to participate and earn revenue.
Yeah.
And that is something, we see it in all sorts of cycles, don't we? Whether it's fashion that comes back, whether it's policy, whatever the case, history repeats itself. We hear it all the time. What I think I've really learned here today is that you see the opportunity to bring something back that's really been dormant, and businesses, because of inflation, because of costs, because of challenges on margins, something that you, as a restaurateur and golf aficionado with your little birdie golf that you mentioned, those margins are challenged.
Yeah.
You need to find another way to help your bottom line, because as you mentioned before, it's about keeping those people that are there. They have a family, they have a life. Mm-hmm. And you found something that a lot of businesses have the opportunity to work with.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, if you look at the average, let's just take restaurant, as the average profit margins are 3 to 7%.
What?
3 to 7%.
I mean, when you go to that restaurant, it's a $170 steak, and they're not making that much money.
Yeah, probably not.
That's
some are more than others,
right?
But the average restaurant.
I hear you.
So when you think about that, if you're a restaurant that does $1 million in sales, maybe you take $30,000 to $70,000 home, and then of course Uncle Sam's going to want his, right? So how do you use your core business to build a subscription business? And let's say you want to go sell that business in the future. You want to sell your restaurant. Well, you're not going to sell it for $1 million. You're going to sell it for multiple of your profit.
Right.
And then you're going to have capital gains on a sale and taxes. So really what you are is you're working a lifestyle business, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? We need brick and mortar businesses. We need brick and mortar operators. But I would just encourage people, like you said, to think differently about their business. Say, okay, if I have all these customers coming to my business, what can I do? What can I create to create predictable, recurring revenue that hits me, that can even out my cash flow if I'm seasonal, that could provide some buffer if perhaps there's inflation in the economy or whatever it is. But now is the time to think differently, because brick and mortar businesses, AI is coming, right? It's coming for all of our jobs. Well, I don't think so, because AI is not going to serve you a great steak at the local restaurant. Right, brick and mortar businesses are still going to be prevalent for years and years as long as there's people. But you have to build something that creates value, that eventually, if you decide not to work or you can't work, that you can extract that value. You can extract that wealth out of that business that you've built. Right. And frankly, it's the biggest challenge that we have at PassPass so far, has been convincing business owners that there's a different way to do things that can create a significantly enhanced outcome if you decide to sell the business or pass it down to your kids or whatever it is. And I think there's a reason why 65% of small businesses go out of business every 10 years, and it comes back to the name of your show, Einstein's. Is people get stuck doing the same thing over and over, and they think that they know, and this is the only way to do something. And the reality is, it's not the only way to do something. I'm proof that there's multiple ways that you can monetize a brick and mortar business, but you have to be willing to try things. And then once you find something that works, you have to manage it. You have to work at it hard. And I just think, unfortunately, there's a lot of people that get beaten down over time and just think that there's not a better way,
Right.
and they just don't have the energy to do it. And so that's our challenge, is to try to let people know that there is a different way. This is new, and if they want to take advantage of our tools, that's great. We're happy to help them, and hopefully we're sitting here a few years from now and we look back and our mission came true. We'll see.
Absolutely. Listen, this is Greg Ellers. We've had the fortune and the pleasure of having Matt Renner on from PastPass, the CEO and co-founder on Einstein's disease today. We've really had the opportunity for you, the viewer, to learn a lot about how an entrepreneur, a CEO, somebody that runs and manages a business, looks through different lenses to be able to capture opportunity and realize that the traditional way isn't always the only way. In fact, there are a lot of other ways, and hopefully you've seen some of those today on our show. Really appreciate you tuning in, and with that, I will catch back up with you next week. It's Greg Ellers from Einstein's Disease, Matt Renner. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And I look forward to hearing all about the future.
Yeah, sounds good.
With that, good evening.
This has been a Now Media Networks feature presentation. All rights reserved.